BM12 campsite. Destination. A man in the white coat asked. Fascia. A masked man replied. This place was built by the black market for the teleportation of goods and people for various illegal organizations worldwide. Only those with a shadow card could use these, and the number of such card holders could be counted on one's fingers. Most elite families didn't need such a way, as they had their own teleportation gates for such matters. But Asher wasn't going to use the one that the Greville family used. The number of shadow card holders was limited. Milson gave Asher the shadow card because he was trading pure mana crystals, which were challenging to come by. If the sudden demand from the higher-ups of the black market hadn't been so high, getting a shadow card would have been tough. But Milson gave him the shadow card because not only did Asher trade pure mana crystals, but he also used the black chamber for his trade. This meant that Asher had good connections with the elite families, so they had no doubt that giving Asher a shadow card could become troublesome for them. This was because all of the shadow card holders knew their limits. They only did things that allowed them to stay out of the radar of the most significant powers in the world. This was also the reason Louis Rothschild's request was denied. There were few families, even among the elite families, that such organizations stayed away from, and all of them had an SSS rank hunter in them. But Milson had no way of knowing that Asher would destroy the unspoken rule maintained by organizations like Spider. Even if he did, he would not try to stop Asher. In his eyes, if any of the shadow card holders did something like that, it was their fault for whatever consequences would fall on them later. And where should we go from here? Dane muttered to himself as he surveyed his surroundings while Kai stopped the car. Dane and Kai stepped out of the car, and Dane opened the door for Asher. All three of them were wearing black masks and armored clothing. Kai looked at his surroundings. They were in the middle of a forest outside Soren. As the three of them were walking, many men wearing masks on their faces appeared suddenly. Asher looked at them. Most were rank hunters, with a few S-rank hunters. Identity, a man spoke, looking at them. Hearing him, Dane brought out the shadow card as he raised his hand and showed them the card. The man who asked for their identity walked near Dane as he brought out a particular device. Ads by pub future. Less than shadow card confirmed greater than. Seeing that the card was real, he stepped back and pointed in a particular direction inside the dense forest. After pointing once, all of them returned to their initial positions, not bothering the three. Dane and Kai were familiar with such things, as they had seen one of the higher-ups of Spider use a similar card. Let's go, Dane said as he looked deeper into the forest. The actual campsite was 2 kilometers away from the security checkpoint, and all of it was covered with security runes that didn't allow anyone to enter unless they had a shadow card. Asher had the original shadow card, and the one that Dane, Kai, and Tom were using was under his shadow card. The three of them ran in that direction. Dane and Kai matched Asher's speed, but it was surprising that Asher could move that fast for a D-rank hunter. So this is the place, Dane said as he looked at the huge campsite before him. Many people wearing masks could be seen coming in and out of it. Dane looked around as he saw a guy walking back and forth. And looking at the mask he was wearing, it was easy to know that it was Tom. Yo! Dane waved his hand to make Tom notice them. Tom turned as he looked at the source of the voice. He could see three men standing together, and by looking at their masks, he instantly knew who they were. Are we leaving now? Kai asked as he looked at Asher. Yes, Asher replied as he moved towards the teleportation gate available in front of them. Did things go well at the dungeon? Tom asked Dane, who raised his thumb in response. They arrived at the teleportation gate as a man wearing a white coat walked towards them. What's your destination? He asked. Desmer, Asher said, but due to the mask, his voice was fake. Okay. The man didn't ask any further questions. Use the portal over there, he pointed at the teleportation portal far to the left. Asher went ahead as he entered the portal, and all three of them did the same behind him. This was not a direct portal, so they would have to use a series of teleportation gates. Asher exited the portal gate and found himself in an underground facility with a single teleportation gate. These portals were placed in various underground facilities owned by the black market. After doing so a total of 8 times, they finally arrived at another abandoned location, but this place was also filled with a few masked men roaming around. Asher took a deep breath, and his eyes turned cold underneath his mask. They had finally arrived outside at Desmar, home to 3 elite families, the Rothschild, Williams, and Whitehart. And it was once where the Garcia family was situated. Tom took out a device and opened a small hologram map. He was looking for their next destination, which they needed to settle before commencing their mission. "How much time will it take before we reach here?" Tom asked Kai. "If we use the things we brought, it will take around 17 hours, Kai replied as he judged the distance. "First, let's get out of here," Asher said as he flared the mana at his feet. Dane grabbed Tom, who was the only unawakened person there. "Don't scream," Dane reminded him as they immediately dashed to exit the vicinity of this particular camp. Alpha GLESN knew L. While they were moving out, Asher looked around the terrain and noticed the people there. In 10 minutes, they climbed a hill and looked around towards the massive city before them. But this was not their destination: contemporary romance. Kai used his spatial ring to bring out 3 black-colored motorbikes specially built to run using mana crystals as fuel. It was something Asher purchased from his personal funds that he had acquired from the mana crystal mines. "Our destination is this abandoned building that is around 2,000 kilometers away from here." Tom pointed at the map, but he was finding it hard to stand still in one place. He was still nauseous from being carried like a bag by Dane throughout the forest. "I must do my setup here before we begin the mission," Tom explained, as he needed a place to assist them. "Boss, from my calculations, they will move the artifacts 3 to 4 days later." Tom looked at Asher. Asher looked at their destination, and it was the place where Tom would stay and guide them from. He was unawakened, and taking him along was nothing but a burden for them. "Let's reach here first. I will discuss the plan there," Asher said as he moved and took one of the bikes. "Take the route that he had sent to the GPS," Asher said as he leaned over the bike. Tom had already calculated the routes they could take, which would avoid them being spotted as much as possible. "You can sit with me," Kai told Tom, who was wondering which bike he should sit on. "Okay," Tom replied. He got on as they started the engine. They moved from the hill to the path that would take them to their next destination. This will be tough, Kai thought as he was driving. Not only would they infiltrate a facility that housed some artifacts for the Kalwas Gala, but he also needed to watch out for Asher's safety. For him, a D-rank hunter could not go on such a mission. If Asher had only told him and Dane to move, then Kai would have at least thought they had a chance, but there was a reason why he wanted to go there himself. He needed to analyze the artifact with the system's help to ensure they got the correct one. But Kai didn't know about it, so he was unsure about Asher coming with them. It was nighttime when Asher and the rest arrived at their destination. Dane looked around. It was just an abandoned camp used by some guilds. He could guess that much by seeing the architecture of the houses around them. They were single-story houses mostly used for storing equipment and not for living. Most of these houses were built if multiple dungeons appeared in an area far from the main cities. Tom looked around as he pointed at one of the houses in the center. "I will do my setup there," Tom said. "Should I scout around?" Kai asked, looking at Asher. Even though this was an abandoned place, there were still chances of people coming here. "Don't go too far, we will only stay here for a day or two," Asher replied. Kai nodded as he quickly dashed away. "I will help you set all this up," Dane said as he went inside the house with Tom. Asher decided to stay in another house in the meantime to practice his mana circulation. He had already reached D rank, and his body had also adjusted to D rank, contemporary romance. Tom was setting up all the devices he needed to help them in their heist. It took him around an hour to set everything up. Shortly after he was done, Asher and Kai entered the house and saw Tom working on something. Dane was sitting behind him, looking at his work with a surprised look. He had worked with many people like Tom in his career, but he hadn't seen someone as talented as Tom. Now he could understand why Asher had brought someone like Tom to help them in this mission. "Is it finished?" Asher asked. "Yes, I will show you the footage I found," Tom said as he turned and tapped on his device. A hologram popped up from the device installed on the ground, revealing a facility with guards all around it. "This facility is currently under one of the Kalwas Gala's heads," Tom said. Kalwas Gala only happened once every 3 years, and every time it happened, 7 new heads were chosen from the attendees to manage the next gala. From the theme of the gala to the management, everything was done according to the 7 heads. And some of them were responsible for delivering all the artifacts that would be put in the auction to the special vault. In the upper society, it was considered a great honor to host the gala. And this time, one of the 7 heads was the family head of the Whiteheart family, one of the 3 from the 7 Kalwas Gala's heads responsible for the safety of the artifacts. The artifacts sold in the auction were either put up by the elite families who wanted to sell them, or others were found in the dungeons by independent hunter teams. As an SS rank dungeon was one of the most dangerous dungeons, there were many times when guilds would work together with other guilds or the World Association to clear them quickly. And that was when the artifact found was placed in the Kalwas Gala. Apart from monster materials and the mana gems found in these dungeons, artifacts were the only things that were very hard to distribute. So, in most cases, those artifacts were sent to the Kalwas Gala, where the bid money would then be distributed among the teams that cleared the dungeon. Only a few guilds, like Abyss Guild and others, could clear SS-ranked dungeons independently. But even then, there was an issue of dungeon ownership, which sometimes forced them to work with others. And the artifact that Asher was targeting was one that would be delivered to the special vault for Kalwas Gala. Stealing from that vault was pretty much impossible for his current power. However, the artifacts that the Whiteheart family's head was going to transport were still in the facility owned by the Whiteheart family. "Do we have to infiltrate this facility?" Kai asked, but Tom shook his head. "This is just a cover-up for the real facility that could only be accessed from this point." Tom highlighted a specific area. "There is a lift used by authorized personnel, and it is the only way to reach the artifacts without alerting anyone," Tom said. "But even when you go inside, the underground facility is divided into 5 levels, and the artifacts are stored in the lowest level, which is the 5th one," Tom explained. "This means that we will have to engage in combat sooner or later during the infiltration," Kai spoke. "But if we make a mess here, the backup from the people will arrive, and we will be trapped in the middle," Dane added. "That's where you are wrong," Asher interrupted them. "We will move through the first level and eliminate all the people there," Asher said. "And you will secure the security room on the first level," Asher looked at Dane. "And both of us will go to level 4 together while he has control over the only security room that can call the backup," Asher said. "But there will still be many people inside the lower levels," Kai said, and he was right. "Don't worry about that. For some reason, all of their S-rank hunters are not in the facility, and they will not come here until the end of this week," Tom replied. "As he said, we will only encounter a rank hunters or lower ones," Asher said. "This is where I will split from you. The 5th level will have no security, so I will be the one who will go down from the 4th level," Asher said. His plan was clear, and he had already assigned roles to Dane and Kai, knowing what suited them best. "Well, here is the course you will take," Tom explained their roles. After Tom's explanation, Kai had one question in mind. "Do we know which Kalwas Gala's head is behind this facility?" Kai asked, looking at Tom. "Ah, it's the Whiteheart family," Tom replied. Kai's eyes went wide when he heard about this person. And the reason behind his reaction was that among all the elite families, the Whiteheart family, despite being the newest one, had taken a firm spot in the High Council. Many people were surprised when the Whiteheart family took the empty seat in the High Council, but there was not much opposition to this matter. And the reason behind that was the family head of the Whiteheart family, known for his ruthless nature. So not only were they targeting their facility, but what's worse was the fact that they were in Desmer. If they messed up their plan, it was not wrong to assume that the hunters working under the Whiteheart family would act very quickly to arrive there and handle the situation. Eagles Nov 1, SOM, get some rest. We will move tomorrow evening, Asher said as he turned, leaving Kai and Dane lost in their thoughts. Are you sure that their backup will not be present there? Kai asked Tom for one final confirmation. No. There is a dungeon breakout that happened a few days ago, and it will take them some time to return, Tom replied. Asterisk 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 asterisk. In a training room, a 45-year-old man could be seen swinging his spear around, and with each strike, the air around the room was shaking. The man kept repeating the moves until he sensed a presence at the entrance of his training room. Then, finally, the door opened, and his butler came inside. Is the situation at that dungeon stabilized yet? The man, with white hair and blue eyes asked. We have sent the S-rank hunters as you ordered, the butler replied. Tell them to settle the situation without wasting time, the man said. As you wish, master, but about the security around the facility. The butler spoke. That will be settled, so forget about it for now. Any news from the Williams family? The man asked. He didn't need to worry much about the facility as he was sure no one was stupid enough to mess with him inside Desmer. Not yet. They are not giving any clue regarding Reese Williams' condition, the butler replied. Any news about Raylan and Kevin? The man asked as he placed the spear on the handle. Nothing after the auction happened, the butler said. You can go now, the man said, and the butler soon left him alone in the training room. It seems my son is doing well inside the World Academy, a smile appeared on his face. He was sure that Kevin would easily be able to surpass anyone in the World Academy when the second year began. Ah, I should send something good to the Rothschild for this favor, he thought as he wore his robe. Many people wearing nano armor could be seen patrolling the huge facility. Inside the facility, two men were conversing. So, we will ship them 4 days later. One man asked. Yes, and make sure there are no slip-ups during the transportation of all the items, replied another man wearing a suit. I don't want to upset the Whiteheart family over this, he said. This facility was owned by the Whiteheart family and was used for personal purposes. This time, the family head of the Whiteheart family used his facility to store the artifacts meant to arrive at the Kalwas Gala. Most of these artifacts were gathered through various teams and other sources in Desmer and other continents. The reason for storing them in his personal facility was to ensure that if any situation arose, they could fix it quickly. In addition, the thought of someone breaching the vault was not on their minds, as it was deemed impossible to access. Unless an SS rank hunter himself attacked the facility openly, there was no way to enter that vault. And if such an impossible situation did arise, the family head himself could handle it directly. Any updates on the S-rank team? He asked. They will arrive in a few days if everything goes as planned, the man replied. Okay, go now and ensure nobody is slacking off. Their discussion ended as the men left the room. The facility covered a vast area, most surrounded by walls adorned with security rooms. There were only 2 entrances, one on the north and the other on the south. A total of 20 B-rank hunters guarded the facility's close proximity, with 10 B-rank hunters maintaining security at the north and south entrances. Most security was focused inside the facility, where various A-rank hunters were stationed. At the north entrance, Three B-rank hunters were watching the north entrance but quite relaxed. It was close to midnight, but the whole facility was well lit. Although the facility was far from the city, they had a perfect connection and energy source. "This is boring," one of the guards spoke out. "Why do we need to be here when there are so many security rooms anyway?" He was jealous of the people working inside the facility. Unlike them, they were in a comfortable environment and enjoyed themselves occasionally. "Don't vent your frustration with me," another man replied. "I am tired, but I don't want to piss off the team leader." They were told to maintain high security for a whole month, but nothing happened. Ads by Pub Future. But none of them actually wanted to leave this job. Unlike going to the dungeon, where losing lives was not so rare, guarding a facility was better. For them, many people liked going to dungeons, but some would rather do something that didn't involve the risk of dying. The three of them were busy chatting, so they didn't notice three pairs of eyes looking towards them from a hill a bit far from there. "The security is not that tight in that place." Kai removed the special glasses that allowed him to observe things quite far away. "Breaching from that entrance will not be an issue." Kai turned towards Asher, who was still observing the facility. Asher removed his glasses, put on a black mask, and saw Kai and Dane do the same. Although Kai and Dane were unsure about Asher's participation in this mission, when they heard Asher's plan, they thought this heist might be possible if everything went as planned. "We will enter from that entrance. Both of you will take out those three," Asher said. "Make sure not to kill anyone until we enter the facility and secure the first level," he reminded both of them. Each guard patrolling outside the facility had a special wristband that reported their life signs to the security room inside the first level in the real facility, which was under the facility they were seeing right now. If even one of them was killed, the whole security around the facility would be alerted about their presence. "Tom, you are connected to the security system, right?" Asher spoke. "Less than yes, boss, but Dane would need to secure the security room in the first level if I want to interfere in the system greater than." All three of them could hear Tom's voice in their ears through the device they were wearing. "Use your ability," Asher ordered Kai, who nodded back at him. Kai flared his mana as he concentrated hard to conceal all three of their presences. Normally it was quite hard for him, but Asher had already given Kai suitable mana-related artifacts that allowed him to shorten his cast time. In under 7 minutes, Kai was done and took a deep breath. All three of them were invisible, but they could still see each other, which was why Kai's ability was much better than a normal illusionist-type mage. Asher saw a truck going towards the facility, and it was a cargo truck needed to restock the supplies inside the facility. "Let's move," Asher said. All three of them dashed towards the truck but didn't enter it yet. Asher took a mana crystal, tossed it inside the cargo truck, and they started following the truck without being noticed by anyone. The cargo truck soon reached the entrance, and one of the B-rank hunters walked near it, tapping on his bracelet. Information matched. "You can enter now," he said after checking the face of the driver with the information he had on his wrist device. The driver drove the truck inside but stopped when he heard something. "Beep, stop." The B-rank hunter immediately spoke, and the other two also walked towards the driver. "Are you carrying any mana-related items?" he asked. "No. There were no such items on the list," the driver replied instantly. "We will need to search this," the man said as they searched the whole cargo truck. After 5 minutes, the B-rank hunter found a mana crystal inside the truck. "How did this get here?" He grabbed it and tossed it to the other guard. "Did they mess things up at the guild?" The other guard said. "Well, we can have this for ourselves." He smiled, looking towards the driver. "Ah, I didn't see anything." The driver immediately understood the meaning behind his smile. "Greedy bastards," he thought in his mind as he drove the truck inside. "How much money do you think we can get from this?" They started laughing. None of them could notice that 3 individuals had already breached the entrance when the mana crystal was detected. Due to Kai's special ability, none could see or sense their presence. Unlike Asher, who had a skill like mana flow and incredibly high senses, they didn't possess any such abilities. And below S rank, it was impossible to detect Kai's ability unless they had skills like Asher. That was easy, Dane whispered as he looked at Kai and Asher, who were standing near a wall of one of the warehouses. Contemporary romance. Less than I will tell you where to move, so follow my lead greater than. Tom could access the drone footage by breaching the security system, but he still didn't have enough access to control them. Less than go south, and you will reach another warehouse with 2 guards present there greater than. Dane and Kai both moved swiftly as they heard Tom's instruction. It took them 10 seconds to arrive at the warehouse when Kai spotted 2 guys guarding it. I hope this works. Kai took out a small flask of green liquid that Asher had given them, and Dane did the same. It was a special poison that paralyzed even a rank hunters if it was injected into their bodies, and only Asher knew the recipe to make it. He had made it for himself when he reached S rank, and it got hard for him to control himself. He used this poison to calm his body, which was super sensitive to mana. It was his only way to counter the side effects that came with the mana doping methods he used to grow stronger. Kai and Dane immediately appeared behind their backs. They took out syringes and injected them into the guards' bodies as they grabbed their necks with one of their arms. It was to make sure they couldn't scream. MHMMM. The muffled screams of the guards were not noticed, as even the drones were not watching that area. Third, the effect of the poison was immediate, and in 4 seconds, their bodies fell to the ground. Their consciousnesses remained intact, but they simply couldn't move their bodies. Even moving their eyes was impossible. Less than remove their bodies quickly greater than. Tom instructed them as the drone was about to return to that spot. Both of these guards were about to start their patrol over to the next warehouse, and the people inside the facility would not notice anything weird for another 10 minutes. And this meant that the 3 of them only had 10 minutes to securely enter the security room. Asher looked around as Dane and Kai successfully hid the bodies of the 2 guards. Less than you now have 10 minutes before they will notice the disappearance of the guards greater than. 0 hours 9 minutes and 57 seconds. Tom reminded them as Dane and Kai moved towards Asher, who was heading towards the central building inside the facility. From this point on, they were supposed to follow the plan that Asher had laid out very carefully. Even one mistake would alert the whole facility, and their plans would be ruined. Asher looked at numerous guards standing in front of the central building. Less than I can see a path that will open for 20 seconds, so make sure all of you enter at the same time greater than. Tom was monitoring multiple drone footage from the house he was sitting in. He was under a lot of stress because he couldn't afford to make a single mistake. You will need to circle around the central building before you spot a red-colored gate, Tom said, looking at the facility's blueprint. It will be opened when the guards change their shifts. You have 50 seconds to make it in time, Tom instructed them. He couldn't see them on the footage because of Kai's ability, so his instructions needed to be very clear. As the 3 of them were running around, suppressing their sounds, Kai couldn't help but observe Asher's movements. Did elite families train their children like this? He couldn't help but notice how calm Asher was in this situation. It was similar to how professionals in his field behaved. But, first, they needed to maintain a certain breathing pattern to suppress their presence entirely. Although Kai had told Asher how to do it, it was not easy to master. Moving around while using a definite amount of mana, making minimal movements, and suppressing your breaths took years to master. This made Kai think that Asher was trained like this from a young age. So all that talk about Greville's heir being unawakened until 14 was false, Kai concluded from his observation. Asher's eyes scanned the various B-rank hunters present there. He had 3 motives for coming here himself. Although everything was going according to his plan, The existence of the system and various mysteries around his regression were bothering him. At first, he was going to make the first appearance of Zephyr around his second year in the World Academy, but he decided to do it a lot earlier. In 40 seconds, they arrived at the red gate, which was going to open in 10 seconds for the shift change. I told you that bastard was lying. One of the guards laughed loudly as his group walked towards the red gate. They didn't know that at this moment, 3 people were standing just behind them, walking with them. The gate opened when one of the guards used his key to gain access to go inside. Asher saw the gate opening and revealing a huge facility inside where a bunch of hunters could be seen standing, waiting for their shifts to begin. Did the supplies arrive? One of the hunters asked. Ads by Pub Future. I got the confirmation, but it's your shift now, so not a problem. One of the guards who had just entered shrugged his shoulders. There were 10 B rank hunters here, but none noticed the 3 people that slipped past them and were inside the central building. Asher was walking behind Dane and Kai, who were quietly making their way toward the place where they could enter the underground facility from. Less than there will be a total of 5 floors in this building. Reach the third one to reach the room where you will access the underground facility greater than. Tom said as Dane and Kai looked around the hallway, which was clear. Not many B-rank hunters would be present on the ground floor, apart from those who would be changing their shifts soon. It was midnight, so most of the staff were already sleeping, apart from the hunters. Asher looked at the only entrance to the upper floors, which was the lifts present there. The central building was full of workshops and items related to the Whiteheart family, so most of the B-rank hunters were stationed there. Should we wait or call the lift? Dane whispered. The problem was that there were only 8 minutes left in the timer Tom had given them. Call it, Asher said, spreading his mana sense over the building. Contemporary romance. Clear the third floor, Asher said, and Dane pressed the button. The lift arrived shortly, and all 3 of them stepped inside. On the third floor. Who is using the lift now? One of the 2 people standing in the third floor hallway spoke. Did the team leader call someone? He was confused. I don't know, we can ask them, the other guard casually replied. Although the third floor was not restricted, it was rare for the guards to come there, and as it was the time of the shift change, they didn't sense anything weird with it. Ding! The lift arrived, and the doors opened. It's empty. They were alerted as they saw the empty lift. But before reacting to the situation, they felt a hand on their mouths as they felt a syringe penetrating their neck region. Thud! Their bodies soon fell to the ground. Kai looked at the effect of the poison Asher gave them, and he had never seen anything like this before. The effects of the poison lasted around 10 hours, and their consciousness remained intact the whole time. Who the hell made this thing? Even Dane was having similar thoughts. They wanted to ask, but both of them refrained from doing so as it might be something that was related to the Greville family. But they didn't know that the drug that Asher had given them was a diluted version of the one he used in his previous life. Clear the whole floor, Asher said as Dane and Kai dashed. It would take them around 4 to 5 minutes to clear this floor and neutralize everyone present there. Asher already remembered the blueprint of the building, so he navigated himself through many hallways and arrived at a special room. Spreading his mana sense, he could sense a presence of a C-rank hunter drinking inside the room. It was the room of one of the managers that handled the things inside the underground facility. Tom had already shared information about such people, and he was Asher's current target. Knock knock. Huh. I told you, bastards, not to disturb me when I am relaxing, the manager shouted annoyedly. The door creaked open, but the manager squinted his eyes as he saw no one. What the hell are you? He spoke when he felt a stinging pain near his neck. But his senses were not focused on the pain. Instead, he sensed an immense killing intent from the man behind him. Wah! Before he could make any sense of what was happening to him, he lost all control over his body. Asher looked at the body of the manager. Then, Crouching down, he grabbed him by his collar and dragged him to another room not far from there. On his way, he could see various guards lying on the floor, unable to move. Some could see that the manager was dragged by something invisible, but they couldn't do anything. He opened the door, and a huge room with a single door inside it was revealed. As soon as Asher stepped inside the room, a robotic voice resounded inside the room. Less than provide access information greater than. Asher grabbed the manager's head and put his eyes near the scanner. Third, after throwing the manager's body aside, Asher saw the dim light around the special door before him shine. Less than access granted, you can proceed greater than. Asher looked back, and within 5 more seconds, Dane and Kai had arrived in the same room as him. Was there any issue? Asher asked, but both of them shook their heads. Dane's eyes noticed the manager lying there. Seeing that Asher had managed to take down a C-rank hunter by himself, he was assured Kai could protect him. Less than you guys have 3 minutes to reach the security room greater than. Less than the priority is to ensure you guys put the chip I gave you inside the security system greater than. Listening to Tom's instruction, Dane brought out a blue-colored chip they needed to insert into the security system. Less than remember, don't bring out your weapons and artifacts until you reach that room greater than. Tom reminded them because the entire underground facility was built to track unauthorized weapons and artifacts. Ping. Tom updated the path to the security system, and all three could see blue lines showing the way inside the holographic map. Let's go. Asher flared his mana around his feet. Mere steps, Asher muttered as all three of them disappeared from their spots. Inside the security room, underground facility. A man stood up as he picked up a device and connected it to the system before him. Did you save the data from yesterday? He asked the person sitting in the chair. Yeah, the man in the chair tiredly replied. Various people inside the security room could be seen, and they were in charge of maintaining the security of the entire facility without fail. Don't slack off, another man said. Why are you guys worrying so much? We have the best protection, and that, he pointed at the screen. It was footage from the lower levels of the underground facility. And it's not like anybody appointed by the family head would be stupid enough to do anything foolish, he said. You know what they do to people like that, he said, and their faces turned severe. At the entrance of the underground facility, Asher, Dane, and Kai passed through the hallways and moved toward the security room. Many times they passed by some B-rank hunters, but they could pass through them easily due to Kai's ability. Maintaining this ability, however, was taking a strain on Kai. Concealing 3 people at once was not easy, especially Dane, an A+ rank hunter. They would reach the security room in a minute, so both took out a transparent flask. They remembered Asher's plan clearly. Hours ago, at the abandoned building. So after entering the underground facility, we will go towards the security room. Kai asked, looking at Asher. Yes, and securing this room is our first goal, Asher said. And to do that, everyone in the security room will be eliminated. And Dane will stay behind in case someone comes to that room. Asher told them. That room not only controlled the whole security of the facility, but it also had access to almost every device that was used at the facility. But there will be a few A-rank hunters inside that room, Dane reminded them. And chances are there will be more than 3, Dane said. Although Asher had told them to use the poison he would give them, in front of more than 3 A-rank hunters, Dane and Kai were bound to get spotted. And if, by any chance, one of the people present in the security room used something to alert the whole facility, their planning would go down the drain. Ads by Pub Future. Don't worry about that, take this. Asher took a few flasks from his spatial ring. This is similar to the previous poison, but it will significantly numb their reaction time, Asher said. They were still skeptical about the items Asher had given them, but they took them anyway. Failure is not an option, Asher reminded them, his indifferent eyes looking at Dane and Kai. Currently, Dane and Kai were moving with those same flasks in their hands. The mask they were wearing would prevent them from inhaling whatever was inside those flasks. 0 hours 3 minutes and 13 seconds, contemporary romance. Less than you only have 3 minutes, remember to focus on getting the chip inside greater than. Tom reminded Dane and Kai once again. Dane's eyes reached full focus, and so did Kai's. The vibe around him changed, and Asher could notice it. Their best performance came out when they were under pressure, which was why Asher wanted to recruit them. Asher looked around and saw a few hunters around the hallways and lobbies. It was a vast facility, and most of the stuff hidden from the world was stored there. But this was one of the many facilities that the Whitehart family owned. Dane noticed they had reached the security room when he saw a guy leaving it. Dane looked at Kai as he signaled him with his hands. Kai nodded back at him as he brought out the poison syringe and increased his speed as he captured the man. In an instant, Kai injected the poison into his body. Dane noticed that the door was about to close, but he immediately held onto it with his hands as he threw the flask inside. Shatter. A white, mist-like gas started to spread inside the room. What the hell? Many people sitting there stood up. But before they could move much, they found their movements were slowing down, and they found it tiring to keep their consciousness intact. Apart from the A-rank hunters, the rest had already fallen unconscious. Dane didn't give the remaining A-rank hunters time to respond as he moved behind them and injected the poison into their bodies. He looked to his left side, where Kai had already cared for the 2 A-rank hunters. Huff, huff, Kai was breathing heavily as he was quite drained from using his unique ability. Ignoring Kai, Dane looked around the vast security room full of multiple screens and devices. Where the hell am I supposed to put this chip? Dane asked as he kept looking around. Less than there will be a main system with a golden colored device in front of it. Use that to put the chip in. Greater than. Tom instructed as Dane looked around and found the golden device that Tom was talking about. Now, which side will this chip go in from? Taking a few seconds to check out the chip, Dane finally put it inside the device. He stepped back as he saw various red alerts on the screen. Back in the abandoned building. Finally, Tom looked in front of him as he was gaining complete access to the facility. He typed rapidly as he configured everything and performed various reset commands over the security system. Nice, Tom said. He had finally turned off the system that detected the artifacts. Now the alarms, Tom muttered. Dane and Kai were silently observing the multiple screens that were now returning to normal, but they knew that Tom was taking over the system. Less than you can use your artifacts now, wait till I disable the whole alarm system soon enough greater than. Tom said as Dane looked at his spatial ring. This is tricky. Tom still had some trouble as the system he was trying to breach was not that easy to infiltrate. Without using the chip, in which Tom had installed various programs that aided him directly, it would have been an almost impossible task to take full control of the facility. It took him around 20 more seconds to finally take over the system and disable the live tracking system used to monitor the entire facility. I have turned off the alarms. Tom was about to say something but stopped as he heard a voice through Dane's mic. What the hell happened here? A B-rank hunter shouted. Dane and Kai were immediately about to attack the source of that voice, but they stopped. Their eyes looked at the man that was standing near the door. In truth, the B-rank hunter was about to shout, but he stopped as he looked down at his chest. Keep quiet, Asher muttered as his figure started to appear, Kai's ability completely removed. The hunter noticed a black sword piercing his heart, and he slowly lost his life as his body fell to the ground. Host has gained 15,000 express. Asher looked at the notification before him and then at Dane and Kai. Both of them hadn't noticed the presence as they were too focused on Tom's voice and due to the various mana-blocking runes that were present in the security room. Clear this mess, Asher said, looking at Dane, who nodded back at him. But both of them were still surprised by Asher being completely normal after killing someone. The gas from the flask that filled the room was still flowing out. Asher ignored the blood as he looked at the empty hallway. He swung his sword to remove the blood. Now he could finally move freely, and they could start the main part of this heist. Kai looked at Asher, who crouched to touch the body of the B-rank hunter. Absorb, Asher muttered as red mana came out of him and took over the hunter's body. Kai looked at Asher's weird ability, but he did not know what it was, nor did he intend to know about it. Host has gained +3 agility stats. As the red energy entered Asher, he felt an overwhelming burden on his mana meridians and core. Asher endured it, but the overflowing power was much harder to maintain. Asher was sure he could handle a B-rank hunter's higher stats than the C+ rank boss monster. But it turned out to be a very hard task. What happened? Tom asked, still in the process of regaining access to the cameras. Asher listened to Tom's voice as he swung his sword around. Nothing. Do you have full access? He asked. Before moving out of this area of the first level, they needed Tom's confirmation. Yeah. Wait, I messed up, Tom stuttered. What happened? Asher asked. I think they are particularly using different systems for the fourth level, Tom said. The last time he had checked, this was not the case. It was an unexpected situation for Tom. Not only had Asher given him all the time to study this facility, but also enough resources. Contemporary romance. I am sorry, boss, but I still have access to the 5th floor, Tom said. It was the last floor where the artifacts were stored. Asher frowned at Tom's reply. He was sure that Tom was not a person who would make such mistakes. Why the change? Asher thought. But I can take over it in 10 to 15 minutes, Tom reassured. We will move as we planned, Asher spoke, looking at Kai. Take out the artifacts you have, Asher instructed Kai, who nodded back at him. Asher had given Dane and Kai enough artifacts of all a rank or above. Kai got the ones that most S-rank mages used in Abyss guilds. The major flaw of Kai's ability was the mana drain he had to go through, but the current artifacts Kai had fixed that flaw somewhat. We will move towards the second level entrance, Asher said. Before moving forward, Asher walked towards one of the paralyzed A-rank hunters. The A-rank hunter could see a masked man approaching him, but apart from his legs, he couldn't see anything when Asher came closer. Asher coated his sword with aura and swung it immediately, slashing the A-rank hunter's head off his body. He saw the head roll over the floor, but he got no notification from the system about him gaining any experience from that kill. So only those I paralyze myself will give me experience, Asher thought. Ads by Pub Future. He got his reasoning from the fact that the semi-poisoned B-rank hunter still gave him the experience. Asher had made the drug inside the flask, but the poison inside the syringe was something he got someone else to do. He wanted to test it because he needed the experience to level up from here on. It was one of the goals that was the reason for Asher coming to this mission himself. As Asher was thinking, Dane and Kai watched Asher's action with wide eyes. It seems my worries were in vain, Dane grinned. Even Kai had similar thoughts. Seeing that Asher had no qualms about killing people would help him a lot going forward with this mission. A moment of hesitation is all that mattered in a fight between a rank hunters to end someone's life. Let's go. Asher turned. Kai stopped as he looked at the security room. Most people in the security room were relieved that they were safe as Asher didn't kill them. I will clean this place for you, Kai said, looking at Dane. Thanks, Dane replied with a carefree voice as he pushed the person sitting on the chair. Dane looked at Kai, who was raising his right hand in the air. I will make it less painful for you guys, Dane said excitedly. He took out his silver-colored sword. What a nice sword, Dane said, moving his hands in a particular pattern. Chain cut, Dane said as a figure disappeared from his spot momentarily and then returned to it. You can go, Dane signaled Kai as he sat on a seat. Everyone in the room was dead with a single move from Dane. Kai looked at the room, now full of blood. He squinted his eyes as Dane had made his task harder due to all the bloodstains. Flame storm, Kai muttered the spell as fire engulfed the whole room. Dane looked at Kai's control over his spell. The flames spared most of the equipment and Dane alone as they burned the corpses of everyone in the security room, including the ones that Asher had killed himself. Kai turned immediately and followed after Asher, leaving Dane alone in the room. So, what should I do now? Dane asked Tom. Less than just sit there and ensure nobody enters the security room. Greater than, Tom reminded him again. Outside the security room, Asher walked towards the next part of the underground floor. How many people are present if we choose to go, right? Asher asked Tom as he found himself in a hallway. Less than currently, I can see 4 guys, and according to the database, all of them are a rank hunters greater than. We should avoid them for now, Kai said, as taking on 4A rank hunters would be difficult for him. Asher looked at the map. If they chose the path from the left, it would delay their arrival by at least 5 minutes, assuming they went at Asher's full speed the whole way. You have access to the first level, right? Asher asked. Less than, yes, greater than. Trap them at the junction ahead and isolate them in pairs, Asher said. Use your ability, he ordered Kai. After a while, Kai and Asher were invisible as they took the path on the right. The underground facility was huge, and without taking particular paths, it was impossible to reach the entrance to the lower level. Ahead of Asher and Kai, 4 rank hunters were moving towards their positions. Did you guys get the permission to go to the 4th level? A guy asked. Do you think that bastard would allow us to go near there? Another guy asked. Well, our team leader does know how to take advantage of an opportunity, another one said. Bootlicking others. Ha ha ha, the 4th one laughed. Oh, come on, you are laughing like we would be any different, they laughed together. There were 20 rank hunters in this facility, and most were on the 2nd and 3rd level. As the 2 of them continued walking, they suddenly heard a voice. Less than, initiating barrier greater than. Before they could move, a mana barrier formed between them, separating the 4 of them into pairs. What? A guy said. What are those guys in the security room doing? One of them spoke. But before they could do anything, a metal door closed in front of them, denying them the vision of either side. Can you guys go check the security room? They heard the voice of their colleagues. Yeah, one of them replied. They turned and started to move toward the security room. Kai looked towards Asher, and they saw 2 rank hunters coming in their direction. Asher signaled Kai to take out the one on the left. Should I trust him? Kai doubted, but he still followed Asher's orders. Kai dashed towards the hunter on the left. What? The hunter on the left shouted as he felt someone grab his head. Blast, Kai whispered as fire emerged from his hands, blowing off the head of the A-rank hunter. Another A-rank hunter, who had gathered his thoughts, was about to swing his fist in Kai's direction, but before his fist neared Kai's vicinity, Asher arrived behind him. Swift strike, Asher performed one of his sword techniques. His black blade was coated in his aura as it moved through the neck of the A-rank hunter. Host has gained 20,000 express. Host has leveled up. He ignored the notifications as he looked at the 2 lifeless bodies before him. As expected, Asher thought to himself. He knew this was the best way to gather experience to level up. Unlike monsters that had extremely hard skin that was hard to pierce, humans were an easier target. Although it took a lot of his aura to cut through the body of a rank hunter, it was still easier than a monster. An unaware human was a far easier target than a monster, and it was something Asher knew well. It was a shame that both of them were rank hunters, so Asher couldn't absorb their stats. But it was fine because he had absorbed stats from the B rank hunter. Status, Asher said as he saw the status screen. Fate Devourer System. Name, Asher von Ravengrevel. Level, 22, EXP 16,500, 22,000. Bloodline, Devil's Absorption rank SSS. Cursed, Curse of Fate active. Body Constitution, Mana Core rank D. Attributes. Strength, 115. Agility, 80 plus 30. Endurance, 85. Intelligence, 180. Mana, 119. Stamina, 73. Charm, 65. Fate, 10,230. AP, 20 plus 5. SP, 16 plus 2. Skills, Time Dilation, rank S, LVL1. Absorption, rank S, LVL1. Mana Flow, rank A. Mana Circulation, rank A. Rune of Airden, rank D. Node Art, rank SSS. Aura Force passive skill, Mere Steps. Node Art, Mere Steps. Swift Strike, Phantom Strike. Beast, Locked. Mastery, Node Art, Novice, minus 27%. Magic, Novice, minus 84%. Rune Art, Fundamental, minus 80%. Asher could see the increase in the stats from the time he had used his bloodline ability on the boss monster. What are the positions of the guys behind the barrier? Asher asked. Adds by pub future. Less than, they are still standing there, greater than. Listening to Tom's reply, Asher looked at Kai, who nodded back at him. They needed to get to the second level fast, as the more they delayed it, the higher the chances of something unexpected happening. Less than, I will remove the barrier in 20 seconds, greater than. Asher and Kai moved toward the direction of the rest of the 2A rank hunters. Shouldn't we go to our positions? One of the guys asked. Let's wait for a bit, the other replied as he looked at the metal door before him. Less than, removing barrier, pathway restored, greater than. They heard a robotic voice as they looked at the metal door opening and revealing the other side. Did they mess up something? One of them was confused by the sudden activation of the barriers. It was one of the security systems installed all over the facility, and it was very rare that they were activated. Let's go. They will join us later anyway, one of them said as both of them turned to leave. But they could never have known that the moment they turned their backs was their last. Fireclaw, Kai said as he ruptured the heart of one of the A-rank hunters. Earthbind. In another instant, he bound the other A-rank hunter as Asher arrived behind him and moved his sword through the skull of the A-rank hunter. Host has gained 20,000 express. Host has leveled up. This time Kai had helped, but his experience was the same. So this much level of assistance is allowed, Asher concluded, looking at the system notifications before him. He wanted to see if Kai supported him even more. Would his experience be affected as the next target was also an A-rank hunter? Did you find that room? Asher asked Tom. Less than, yes, you will find it after you follow the path on your maps, greater than. The room they were looking for was the same place these two hunters were heading towards. It was the room where the air management devices were stored. I will go to that room, find the entrance to the second level, and open it, Asher said as Kai nodded and disappeared. Apart from the hunters, the entire underground facility was empty and would remain so until they used the fifth level to store the artifacts for the Kalwas Gala. The family head didn't want any extra presence in the underground facility besides the hunters. This made Asher's task easier as he had fewer people that he needed to deal with. Their mission had been going relatively smoothly until now because of Kai's ability. However, Kai was about to reach his limit soon, and Asher wanted to arrive at the fifth level before that happened. Asher examined his body, which had become visible again, as Kai removed the effects of his ability to ensure he could use it for longer on the rest of the lower levels. Asher turned as he traveled through multiple hallways, ignoring most rooms where items related to the Whiteheart family were stored. Most were used to store monster parts such as horns and other items sold for a high price in the market. Despite running at his top speed, reaching the room took him a few minutes. Less than, access granted, opening air management room, greater than. Tom opened the room for Asher, and he had no difficulty entering the room, which only a few could access. Asher examined various containers and gas tanks filled with oxygen to ensure the airflow inside the facility remained stable at all times. His eyes scanned the vast room as he reached to touch one of the installed gas cylinders supplying air inside the whole underground facility. Less than the sizes are similar, boss, so you can change them greater than. After Tom's confirmation, Asher picked up a similarly sized cylinder. However, this container was filled with a drug similar to the one in the flask that Dane and Kai had used in the security room. Asher replaced the next tank set to be used with the one he had. It took him 20 seconds to do so. Change the airflow settings to maximum, Asher ordered Tom. Less than yes, boss, greater than. Hearing Tom's reply, Asher immediately left the room and went towards Kai, who was currently in the room where the entrance to the second level was located. It was a large metallic door, similar to the one they used to enter the first level. The problem was the runes that surrounded it. Although Tom could take over the security systems, runes were not something he could handle unless he could see them. So, I just need to destroy these runes, right? Kai asked once again. Less than yes, and make sure you do not make too much noise, greater than. Destroying them was not an issue for Kai, but doing so without making much noise was difficult. He needed to cast a spell powerful enough to destroy the rune in one go, but at the same time, he needed to ensure that the noise was low. This should work. Kai used a tier 3 spell. Flow of flames rule thy. He began to chant a spell. At the end of the chant, he could see the flow around him heat up slightly. Kai looked at the runes that were fading in front of him. Just then, he made a circle of flames with his hands and pushed them against the runes. Burn, Kai muttered as he focused his mana to remove the runes. Less than nice. I will open it, greater than. At that moment, Asher arrived behind Kai, who turned back to look at him. Wait for 30 seconds, Asher said, wanting to wait for the effects of his special drug to permeate the entire underground facility. Use your ability and take as many as you can, Asher said. This time, Asher didn't tell Kai to move with him and go all out to kill all the hunters present on the second level. Kai nodded at him as he flared his mana and used his ability to conceal both his and Asher's presence. Finally, Kai muttered. He had to hold back a lot as Asher was close to him. Although he always told Dane about his recklessness, Kai was not much better than Dane when it came to fights. There was a reason Dane and Kai were both people that nobody inside Spider liked to work with. Less than access granted, second level, greater than. They heard a robotic voice, but Asher's eyes were focused on Kai's hands, which were engulfed in flames. There was a reason that Kai mostly used close combat spells. He could conceal the spells with his special bloodline ability, Contemporary Romance. This was why he earned the title of Illusionist in Asher's previous life. I will go ahead, Kai said as he disappeared before Asher. Asher looked at another path different from the one Kai took, with 2A rank hunters on it. Asher moved towards that path, but Kai didn't know there were 2A rank hunters on the other path that Asher was taking. This was something that Asher had ordered Tom not to disclose to them. But boss, you are D rank, and even with this plan, Tom was shocked when Asher told him the original plan. I can handle it. You don't need to worry about it, Asher said. Tom couldn't help but think it was a bad idea, but he followed through with it as Asher instructed. And right now, he was looking at Asher while regaining access to the 4th level. Even with that drug, Tom was still not fully convinced that it was something Asher should do. The entire 2nd level and 3rd level were much smaller than the 1st level, but they were still so massive that it took time for Kai to reach his first target. Kai was moving quickly but not so fast that his presence would be sensed. There were a few A rank hunters on the 3rd level, but no A+ rank hunters like him. He was fully confident in dealing with anyone below his rank, and with the current artifacts amplifying his abilities considerably, he was confident that he could stealthily kill them all. Fireclaw, he ruptured the heart of an A- rank hunter. And he dropped the body to the side. I will get it done in 6 minutes, Kai muttered as he moved on. In a few seconds, he came across a group of 3A rank hunters. It was an arduous task, but unlike in the security room, he didn't need to worry about not damaging the surroundings anymore. Mirage, Kai said as the A-rank hunters saw an image of Kai approaching from another direction. Who the hell is this? One of them shouted as he flared his mana. But he felt a bit different, his senses, his mana flow was sluggish. But he didn't think much about it. All three of them took out their weapons and saw a masked face approaching them. But unfortunately, that was just an illusion Kai made, and before they could notice it, all three of them had their backs to Kai. Sea of flames, gather in my hand, Kai finished his chant as he performed one of his wide-ranged skills. What? Before they could comprehend what happened, their bodies got engulfed in hot flames. Although under normal conditions, they would be able to react to Kai's attack much earlier, right now, the very air they were breathing was filled with an odorless drug that tampered with their senses and mana flow significantly. No one could sense it unless they used their mana, which was why most of them were still unaware of what was happening to their bodies. Kai threw out 3 daggers at their heads, and none of them could even muster their auras to defend themselves as they were still under the pain and shock of Kai's previous attack. In an instant, Kai had dealt with 4 A-rank hunters. 4 more, Kai said as he left the burnt corpses of the A-rank hunters behind. He moved towards the direction of the entrance of the 3rd level as he knew the positions of the rest of the guards. But he had no idea about the 2 A-rank hunters that Asher was approaching. Asher went ahead as he stopped and looked at 2 people chatting with each other as they stood near the hallway. His crimson-red eyes were focused on their weapons, and he could see that both were mages as they had no weapons. It made it even easier for him as mages were most affected by the poisonous drug that Asher had filled the air with. But he waited a few more minutes as he watched the 2 of them. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, Asher started counting. Finishing his count, Asher gripped his sword as he started moving towards the 2 A-rank hunters. He controlled his breathing, and his eyes were focused. Although he had a chance to quickly kill one of them, the moment he did, the second hunter would be alerted. And if he made a single mistake, even a weakened A-rank hunter was enough to kill him. Both of them were chatting, not noticing Asher's presence. Ha ha ha, one of the hunters laughed loudly. But the moment he laughed, Asher moved behind him. Swift strike, his sword traveled through the neck of one of them, instantly killing him. Host has gained 20,000 express. Host has leveled up. The blood spurted onto the other mage's face as his expression changed instantly. In a single moment, the person he was talking to was dead. He couldn't comprehend what had just happened. Asher didn't waste a moment as he looked at the dumbfounded mage. Mere steps, his body disappeared and reappeared near the mage. Asher swung his sword toward the mage. What? He spoke out but immediately flared his mana. He dashed away from his position and looked around him. He raised his hand to touch his neck, and he found he had received a wound. A thin line of red bloomed at the base of the mage's neck, showing where Asher's blade had grazed him. Where the hell are you? Show your face, bastard. The mage said, but his senses grew sluggish. The more he used mana, the more he could see that his mana control was not exactly how it used to be. He wanted to raise a mana barrier, but he couldn't. In front of an invisible opponent, that was the last thing he wanted to happen. Not only was he experiencing the drug's effect, but even the armor that Asher used on Dane and Kai was showing its effect. It was the same armor that weakened the person in close proximity to Asher. Mere steps, Asher said as he dashed towards the mage. He was not going to waste this precious chance that he had received. The mage flared all his mana to increase the pressure in his surroundings. He was sure whoever attacked him was of a lower rank than him. He could deduce this much from the fact that he was still alive. Asher squinted his eyes as his grip tightened. His movement slowed, but he pushed his body nevertheless. The Major's response was right, but he couldn't think that Asher's movement technique would allow him to close the distance between them so quickly. It was too late. If he had managed to do this a couple of seconds earlier, it would have delayed Asher enough so that the mage could gather enough time to increase the distance. But in his weakened state, he was not capable of doing so. Asher could see that his strike was slowed due to the sudden mana pressure he was enduring, but his sword still reached the neck of the mage as he sliced his body from the edge of his neck. Host has gained 20,000 express. Host has leveled up. Asher looked at the bodies of two A-rank hunters as he took a deep breath. Tom, who had stopped for a second to look at Asher's fight, was amazed beyond belief. He had just seen a D-rank hunter kill two A-rank hunters. Even though his presence was concealed by Kai's ability and the weakened effect of the drugs in the air, he could not think of a single D-rank hunter who could do something similar. He could not sense it himself, but he was sure the mage had used his mana to suppress him, but he still failed. Less than boss, Kai has reached the third level entrance greater than. Less than you should go there quickly greater than. Less than I have already opened the entrance for the third level greater than. Less than you don't have to enter through the fourth level as there is an entrance for the fifth level inside the third level greater than. Less than I have checked the system in the third level, so you will be able to access it directly greater than. Tom was still in the process of taking over the fourth level, and because he had no idea about the fourth level, he advised Asher to skip it altogether. Okay, Asher replied. While Asher was moving, Tom grew more confused as he needed to take over the fourth level. The path that Asher was taking was different from the one on which Kai currently was. He traveled through the path, passing by various rooms which he ignored. He soon arrived at the room where the entrance to the third level was, and when he entered the huge room, he saw a body badly burnt. As Asher entered the room, he could see Kai standing in a room full of marks formed due to his attacks and fire magic. Ah, these ones were quite good, Kai said as he looked down at two bodies, contemporary romance. Judging by the fact that Kai had to use such spells, Asher could deduce that the last two guys were at least A-rank hunters. Asher's eyes turned as he looked at the half-opened metal door that was the entrance to the third level. Oh, that. I got a bit reckless with my spells, Kai said, scratching his head. Asher knew that Kai would reach his limit soon as casting all the highest tier spells he knew would slowly take a toll on him. Let's go. We will directly go to the fifth level from here, Asher said as both of them entered the third level. The air inside the underground facility was beginning to fill with the drug that Asher had brought with him. Following Asher, Kai pondered deeply about Asher and his actions up to this point. He'd never heard of any such poison that affected a person's mana flow in such a manner as the one Asher had given him. This was the first time he had seen such drugs. Defeating A-rankers this easily was not a simple task for him. Typically, Kai needed Dane to deal with this many people, and even then, it would still take more time than it did for Kai alone. What path will we take? Kai asked as he peered at the holographic map. We will eliminate people on this floor first, Asher said, as their priority had shifted. He was not rushing to the fourth level as they were heading straight to the fifth level, knowing it was a one-way entrance and they would still need to pass through the fourth level again to leave this facility. He aimed to isolate the fourth level and eliminate any possibility of reinforcements arriving. Dane was ensuring that no one entered the B-rank facility and that none of the bodies of the people they'd paralyzed were spotted. Take this time to gain access to the fourth level, Asher reminded Tom. Less than okay greater than. Both moved forward, leaving the half-destroyed area behind them. Fortunately, the materials used to build this facility was sturdy enough to ensure that the impact of Kai's spell wasn't heard by the hunters on the third level. Unlike the previous levels, there were only 5 A-rank hunters present, and most of them were stationed separately from each other. And they were positioned around specific blocks of the third level to guard various storage rooms. Asher and Kai moved through the third level, observing various security devices. But all of them had been rendered useless by Tom. Asher spread his mana sense and detected the presence of the nearest hunter. I will take him, Asher said, leaving Kai slightly confused. He didn't understand why Asher wanted to confront and kill these hunters. But just in case, Kai prepared a spell in the event Asher missed his opportunity. Asher used mere steps, and Kai watched Asher's figure moving from one point to another. What is the technique? Kai wondered as he'd never seen anything like it before. He had seen various A-rank and S-rank hunters, but none used such a technique. Most of them were fast enough to outpace Asher, but he was certain no D-rank hunter moved like him. Asher moved quickly, but he didn't forget to conceal his presence. If he used his mana without concealing it, even with Kai's abilities, his presence could be sensed by an A-rank hunter. As the mage guessed, Asher was near him after his first attack, but he couldn't do much due to the drug that filled the air. Asher propelled himself from the ground towards the hunter, preparing to strike with his right hand. Isn't he afraid? Kai thought as he saw Asher dash toward their next target. In his eyes, Asher was talented, but his actions seemed too reckless. Even Dane, in his view, was not as reckless as Asher. And he was correct. Unlike Dane, who avoided anyone he deemed dangerous, Asher was different. He had fought tougher battles in his previous life, where no one would have thought he could win. Even though his possibility of winning was low, his methods allowed him victory. But everything had a price, and damaging his body was one of them. But for now, Asher was not using his mana doping methods. Instead, this was what he was capable of with his current abilities. He moved his sword, which was becoming coated in his aura, and his eyes indifferently regarded the A-rank hunter in front of him as if he were nothing. Asher tilted his sword slightly as he moved past the A-rank hunter, who didn't know what had happened to him. The last words came out of his mouth as his head fell off his body. Host has gained 20,000 express. Host has leveled up. Asher turned as he saw another notification. In a short span, he had gained 3 levels. Status, Asher said to himself. Fate Devourer System. Name, Asher von Ravengrevel. Level, 25, EXP 4500, 25,000. Bloodline, Devil's Absorption Rank SSS. Cursed, Curse of Fate, active. Body Constitution, Mana Core Rank D. Attributes. Strength, 115. Agility, 110. Contemporary Romance. Endurance, 85. Intelligence, 180. Mana, 119. Stamina, 73. Charm, 65. Fate, 10,230. AP, 35 plus 5. SP, 22 plus 2. He had already reached level 25, and he was confident that there were enough A-rank hunters here for him to kill. Let's move. Asher was not stopping here. Less than I can see 5 more people in this level greater than. Less than the portal to the vault is opposite the hallway where the entrance to the 4th level is situated greater than. Upon hearing Tom's voice, Asher moved through the hallways. As Kai followed him, he noticed many storage rooms he was certain were storing valuable goods. He was sure that if Dane were here, he would have attempted to rob some of these rooms. They stopped at one of the turns where an A-rank hunter was standing in front of a room that appeared like a storage room, much like many others they had passed on their way here. Asher used his movement technique to close the distance to the unsuspecting A-rank hunter. Swift strike, in a single moment, Asher slashed his sword through the neck of the A-rank hunter. Host has gained 20,000 express. Asher didn't stop and headed towards the portal they needed to take to enter the 5th level, where the vault was situated. As time passed, the chances of someone noticing the anomalies with their mana flow increased. Asher was aware of this, so he was moving at full speed without conserving his mana. Host has gained 20,000 express. Host has leveled up. Killing another A-rank hunter, Asher and Kai arrived at the core sector of the third level. We have a metal gate in front of us, Kai reported to Tom. Less than after this, the rest of the section is a restricted area greater than. Less than the moment I give you access to this door, the remaining 3 hunters will become aware of your presence greater than. Less than, but I don't think they will consider that the one who opened the door could be an intruder greater than. You can handle one more tier 3 spell, right? Asher asked with an indifferent voice as he spread his mana sense. He could see the faint outlines of mana from 2 people standing a bit far from this gate. Yes, but using it will make my ability run out sooner, Kai replied. His ability was taking a toll on his body. Just take care of the one who will arrive after the first one, Asher said. Shoot it straight the moment I kill the first one. His voice was indifferent and authoritative. They walked towards the metal door. Less than permission granted. You can enter now greater than. The robotic voice was heard as Tom granted manual access to Asher and Kai. Sounds of heavy metal colliding with each other could be heard as the metal door started opening bit by bit. Kai could see that this door alone would have taken a few tier 3 spells to break through it. Get ready, Asher said as he dashed towards the entry that had just opened. Kai raised his hands as his eyes started to shine. Call forth, arrow off. Kai started chanting as an arrow began forming in front of him. But this arrow was also affected by his ability, as it disappeared shortly after it appeared. Using mere steps, Asher had covered some distance, and he could see a man wearing special armor coming in his direction. Judging from his speed alone, without using mana, Asher knew he was an A-rank hunter. Who could it be? The hunter muttered as he moved towards Asher. His senses and mana control had grown dull to the point that sensing Asher and Kai's presence was impossible for him. Asher looked at the armor the man was wearing and knew it was A-rank armor. However, there was one part of his body that the armor did not cover, his face. Asher focused his aura, which gathered around his sword's tip. Taking a deep breath, his eyes focused on one spot. They were only 2 seconds apart from each other. Asher turned his sword as he changed his grip, and pulled it a bit behind his back as he thrust the blade into the skull of the A-rank hunter. His aura greatly strengthened his hand and sword as the blade pierced through the skull of the A-rank hunter. Host has gained 20,000 express. The moment he killed the A-rank hunter, he could sense another presence of an A-rank hunter just ahead of him. Judging by his mana flow skill, he could sense that the A-rank hunter was flaring all his mana that he could. 10 seconds ago, is somebody coming into the restricted area? The second A-rank hunter asked himself. I should go greet them, he decided, knowing that only a few officials could enter this area. Although it was also part of the security protocol, he moved in that direction. What is this? He frowned. He was planning to use a bit of mana to reach where Asher and Kai had entered from, but he felt something was off with his mana control when he tried to use it. Nonetheless, he didn't stop. Instead, he used a bit more of his mana to chase after the first hunter, as his senses were telling him something was amiss. However, considering no alerts had been sent from the team in charge of surveillance in the security room, he didn't think much of it. He was heading in the same direction the first hunter had taken and quickly caught up, but the sight in front of him shocked him. What? He shouted, seeing a sword pass through one of the people who were guarding the third level with him. Immediately, he activated his mana but could feel that his body's response was considerably slower than he was capable of. He unsheathed his sword, ready to charge at whoever had just killed one of the guards responsible for the third level's security with him. Asher didn't draw his sword when he sensed the presence of an A-rank hunter nearby. Feeling the A-rank hunter rushing towards him at high speed, Asher quickly grabbed the hunter he had just killed. He pulled the body of the hunter towards himself as he leaned backward. This was Kai's cue to prepare his spell. Since the spell was nearly invisible and was in the blind spot of the A-rank hunter charging at them, it was virtually Impossible for the second hunter to detect it. Kai noticed Asher leaning backward and could now see an A-rank hunter approaching Asher. The arrow he had crafted was a special spell he was confident could penetrate most A-rank armors. He immediately shot the arrow, and Asher could feel the heat of the flaming arrow in front of his face. Unfortunately, the second hunter couldn't sense the tier 3 spell coming toward him. The arrow collided with the wall behind the hunter and dissipated soon after, leaving a deep mark on the wall. Ads by Pub Future. Third, Asher's eyes fixed on the second hunter, who now had a massive hole in his chest and was falling to the ground. Phew, Kai said as he observed the impact of his spell. He had used a spell that didn't cause much destruction. Let's go, Asher said, pulling his sword out of the hunter's skull. Asher and Kai headed towards where the entrance and the portal to the 5th level were. It took them about 2 minutes to reach the exact hallway they needed to enter. However, Asher stopped and looked toward the entrance of the 4th level. There was still one more A-rank hunter left, and he wanted to take care of him before proceeding to the 5th level. This time, Kai didn't question Asher's intentions and followed him. Despite not knowing why Asher wanted to take out the people himself, he prepared to assist him in case things went south. Asher saw the entrance of the 4th level and, standing in front of it, a single A-rank hunter with a carefree look on his face. Asher eyed the A-rank hunter and extended his mana sense, but he couldn't probe beyond a certain distance in the 4th level. Most of the security devices that Tom had disabled until now were still active on the 4th level. Asher gripped his sword as he dashed towards the hunter. Unlike the previous kills, this one was the easiest so far as the A-rank hunter who was standing there was too carefree. Host has gained 20,000 express. Host has leveled up. Asher looked back at the metallic entrance and the various runes that were still active around it. But he ignored them and walked out of the room. They entered the main hallway and saw a special room with a unique design. On the metallic door, a white-colored, heart-shaped gem was embedded. The moment Asher and Kai stepped near the room, they heard a robotic voice. Less than you have entered the highest level restriction area. Identity confirmed. # greater than. Less than identity confirmed. Cumden Whiteheart greater than. Asher recognized the name. It was Cumden Whiteheart, the seat holder for the Whiteheart family, and Kevin's father, ASS rank hunter. Kai grew a bit nervous as the realization hit him again. Things were going so smoothly that he had forgotten they were robbing the Whiteheart family. The door opened, revealing a special area where a single portal, shining in blue light, was present, contemporary romance. Less than I have given you access to the 5th level, but it might take me some time to completely secure the 4th level greater than. Asher heard Tom's voice. You can remove your ability now, Asher said as Kai immediately lifted his ability. Both of them became completely visible again. Are you sure using this portal is safe? Kai asked. The portal in front of them was a connecting portal, not an actual teleportation gate. It acted as the medium for 2 teleportation gates to connect with each other. This method was used to connect teleportation gates through mana blocking barriers that were present all around the 5th level. Due to the mana distortion caused by such barriers, there were high chances of failure during the teleportation. Such issues never happened with large teleportation gates that could overpower the mana distortions, but such teleportation gates were only used for transporting large numbers of people. Portals like these acted as the third dot between 2 dots, fixing the path that could be taken and removing any possibilities that could bend the path. But the downside was that such portals could only be used as one-way portals. And the destination was always fixed. For this portal, the destination was the 5th level. It was something that Tom found when he studied the structure of the underground facility. Far from this facility, Tom was still working on the security of the 4th level. How did the boss manage to get this passkey? Tom was genuinely impressed. The passkey Tom was talking about was a special code that must be entered into the security system to gain complete access. He was sure only the family head would know about it. He didn't know how Asher managed to get this passkey, but he was impressed by whoever accomplished that task. Even I am not sure that I can do this. Tom always thought he was one of the best in his field, but seeing the amount of information Asher had given him, he was sure that Greville had someone better than him. But he never knew that the information that Asher had given him was something he had discovered in his previous life as Tom Guylip. Tom thought Asher wanted to avoid his family knowing about his actions, so maybe that was why he was using him. He confirmed this theory because the way Asher found out about his attempts to hack into the World Association database was something only a person even more talented than him could discover. Well, doesn't matter. I am sure I can reach that level, Tom muttered, not knowing that his unknown rival was himself. This is tricky, Tom said as he looked at the information. Why the hell are they using a completely different system on the 4th level? Tom said with a frustrated look on his face. Breaking into the previous system took weeks of preparation, but he was now working with a completely different system. Should I just force my way in? Tom muttered. But that method had various risks that Tom was unsure whether he should take now. So in the end, he decided not to do it. It was better not to take unnecessary risks. Finally, Tom said as he looked around the 4th level. What? His eyes widened as he nearly sprang up from his seat. 3 minutes before this happened, Asher had entered the portal as soon as they arrived at the 5th level, with Kai behind him. The sight in front of them surprised him. So this is one of the 7 vaults of the Kalwas Gala. Kai looked at the massive sight in front of him. Yeah, Asher replied as he approached the vault.